I'm going to be talking today about using online feedback to encourage energy savings using a lot of the strategies and techniques that Karen just went to, plus a couple new ones. I have control. So just a really quick overview. C3 creates energy management software for utilities and enterprises to help reduce their energy use, and we work with utilities as well as big, large corporations to help do that. Basically, our sort of market, what we're trying to do is help states all over the country that have different energy efficiency goals and mandates. And you can see here, there's a lot of them. They're all over the country, which is great. And utilities and governments and enterprises hire companies like us to help them meet their goals. We really see a big market disruption happening right now, which is great for all of us. These policies that have been put in place have been mostly been met to date with lighting programs and specifically CFL programs. With the new policy that came into law a couple months ago now, that's making it, the low-hanging fruit is starting to go away, as well as the goals all of a sudden going up. So there's a good opportunity for a lot of, we think, very, very good and favorable disruption. This is just an overview of sort of what we do at a high level. We take lots of different data points. Karen mentioned how difficult it is to get the right amount of data to people. We smash it together and give different homes, businesses, and large enterprises the right information they need to be more energy efficient. Today, though, I'm going to talk about on the residential side, because that's what I know best. And just really quick, what sort of we do, we call it C3 a Home. So we have a personalized online engagement platform that's white labeled for utilities and others to help meet their efficiency goals. We use analytics to create sort of segmentation models and recommendations. So this is sort of trying to solve the problem that Karen identified of, you're not actually getting that much information today until, and even with smart meter data, there just isn't a lot of useful information that households get to be able to know how to manage their energy use. So what we do is we supplement that usage data with a lot of other models and a lot of other data sources, which I'll talk about in a second, in order to try to give the most accurate feedback and from that feedback, specific recommendations on ways to save energy. And then we include with that integrated marketing services to actually drive the people online. So we're trying to solve the, is that a hand up? Sorry.
What does white label for utilities mean?
Oh, sorry, this just means it's just software that has a different brand every time we put it out there. So our software is the same software, but it has a different logo and different color scheme for different places of the country that we roll it out. And then we have a variety of which we also use behavioral techniques, which I'll talk about in a second, integrating marketing to actually drive people online. So this is trying to solve the problem of, we call it build it and they will come. So you can create the best website, best web property in the world, and if nobody knows about it, then you're not really making a big impact. So we try to solve that problem. And then what I'm going to talk about most, especially at the end, is monthly feedback and reward points to drive continuous engagement. So one thing that we've found is that in addition to giving people good information, really rewarding them and making them feel like they've earned something is very important to sort of pull on the emotional heartstrings. And sort of similar to the story Karen told about how people basically lie to you about what their motivations are. We ran a bunch of surveys, and by far the top two things that people told us were important to them and why they sort of joined our website was number one was saving money, and number two was helping the environment. However, as I'll show you in a second, the only statistically significant correlations that we find for sign up are really based on how many reward points they get. So it's take what people tell you with a grain of salt. So just, I won't go through too much of this. It's a little bit nerdy, but basically the way we're able to give sort of enhanced feedback based on just getting the usage data, and sometimes for some fuels we don't even have that, is we basically take we call a hybrid statistical and engineering model. So we basically take anything that we know about a home, from property record data to census data, American Housing Survey data, weather data, and we basically crunch it all together and find significant correlations. So, for example, one of the correlations that we've found is based on estimated household income, which we can get from a variety of sources. We're able to actually see that in a lot of areas that's significantly correlated with the amount of appliance usage, which is actually something that you wouldn't actually get from a normal engineering model, doing a home energy audit, because it's hard to model behavior within a home. So what we're able to see, though, based on looking at large data sets and looking at our data, is basically being able to make pretty educated guesses based on the information that we do know about what someone's energy profile is, and then therefore, on top of that, what we think what we think are the best ways for them to save energy. And that's taking into account not only, you can see at the bottom there, not only how much money they're going to save and what their basically payback period is, but it's also, if they're higher income, we're going to recommend more things for them to invest. If they're lower income, we're going to offer more low and no cost action. So it's sort of trying to create the best type of recommendations for them. Some of the results that we've seen so far have been pretty good and consistent with the a lot of the research Karen and other folks have done. We've seen about 6% electricity savings from households that have logged into the online portal. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the sensitivities, but some of them are what you'd think in terms of amount of usage and things like that. And then on the marketing side, we've seen pretty high conversion rates based on the sort of target population that we go after. And the thing that we really focus on is engagement. As I'll show you in a second, and well, not there yet, but basically the biggest correlation between savings and any other factor is the amount of engagement. So the more we're able to get people online, the more we're able to get them to do, the higher their savings level are. And we at least suspect a lot of this is because we think everyone sort of intuitively knows how to save energy. They may do it in different ways. They may do it in ways we would never think of, but they generally know how to do it. But what's really needed is for people to think about it. You only get your bill once a month, and even then you might pay it automatically, or you may not really think about it. So just getting basically customer mind share and getting people to just pay attention to it, if it's only for a few minutes a month or a few minutes a week, is really, really powerful. And getting them to make decisions both in terms of investing in their home as well as conservation is really important. So what we try to do is make it as simple as possible for them to engage. I think one thing that we've tried to focus on is while we try to integrate all of the great behavioral strategies and techniques that have that have been developed over the years, we really try to keep it as simple as possible. So if we have to not include something, we'll do it in the interest of being very simple about things. So this is sort of our basic interface. We give people, they log in and literally they just get recommendations. They get things that they can do. So we try to make it very, very practical for them. And if they click on anything, then we're able to give them even more granular feedback by them giving us more information about specific parts of their appliances or specific parts of their home. So we try to do what we call it sort of in a progressive manner, trying to give them more and more information. So we're not going to make them fill out a long form at the beginning. We want them to sort of be drawn into the application and drawn into to the engagement. And then we give them savings feedback per great best practices. And really the way we touch people, I'd say on the most regular basis is through email. So every time a new bill comes in, we'll send people an email like this that tells them how much we think they've saved or not saved, and then most importantly, how many reward points they've earned. And this has been huge in terms of engagement and getting people to open the emails, click through on them, and we've seen pretty impressive rates of that. But the biggest thing, too, is keeping it really simple. So we're trying to tell people, we're rewarding you, we want you to redeem those rewards. And this is important because, as Karen stated at the beginning, energy efficiency is so tough because it's the lack of something. And so even if you're telling people that they're saving energy, and even if they actually are saving energy, they don't actually necessarily feel it. They don't feel the lack of something. So by giving them reward points, by rewarding them for actually saving energy, it feels like they've received something tangible. So it's more akin to installing a solar panel or something like that, where you can actually feel like you've sort of accomplished something concrete. So we've seen a lot of success from that. And then if they don't save energy, we tell them they didn't and help them to try to do better next time. I said it before, and I'll show you another data point in a second, but one thing that came out recently was an interesting J.D. Power and Associates survey, which basically did a, forgetting the term, but basically congruent analysis, something like that, where basically they list all the different things that can motivate consumers, and they put them up next to each other, two things next to each other, and they see which ones are most important. And so they ran this survey to, I think, pretty high sample size, and the top three things are, the number one there is, I don't know if you can read it, is reward points for saving energy. The second thing is showing me how much energy and money I could save if I take an action. And the third is show me how much energy I'm saving when I take an action to save energy. So we sort of liked that survey came out and are continuing to sort of take that approach. And then here's just an example of the rewards part of it. You earn reward points for saving energy, and then you just go here and you can click through. We have both national as well as we develop local reward partners wherever we go. So, yeah, it's a gift certificates, but you also like a free pass to the zoo, things like that. And one thing we found was, I mentioned this before, an actual significant correlation between the number of reward points that we send, that we tell people we're going to give them, and the actual sort of engagement rate that we see. So we sent a piece of direct marketing to a bunch of homes and said, hey, you didn't sign up before, but based on analyzing your usage, you would have saved this amount of energy had you been part of the program earlier. And we varied the amount of savings they would have gotten based on what we'd modeled. And as you can see, there's almost literally a direct correlation between the number of reward points that we gave them and the sign-up rate. So the cool stuff. So we've done some analysis now with some help from other folks, and basically what we're starting to do now is better understand what are the relative impacts of all of the different types of feedback that we're doing, as well, things that are affecting things and frankly things that aren't. So as I mentioned before, engagement is really the big wedge in terms of saving energy. So there's about 85% more savings when participants are able to link their utility account. So if they don't have their utility account or they enter it wrong, they can still use the website, but they can't get a lot of the feedback and a lot of the monthly emails and the reward points. And so we're seeing, as you'd imagine, a much higher rate of savings from people who are able to do that. And then we're seeing more than double savings when the participants sign into the website more than 5 times versus 1 to 2 times. So the more you're getting engaged, the more you're signing on, the more you're saving. The other thing that's been really interesting for us, and we're still trying to do some analysis on it and tease out some of the potential sort of false correlations, but the effect's just so big that we can't really ignore it, is we've actually seen about 550% more savings the month after a home receives positive feedback versus negative feedback. So, statistically, if you get something that says yay and you get reward points, you're much more likely to save the month after. And if you say no, you didn't save, then you're less likely to save. So one thing that we're working on a lot is basically how do we integrate positive feedback into more and more of our experience without being inauthentic, right? You don't want to just say, hey, you're doing a great job all the time if they really aren't. So it's sort of a hard problem to solve. What hasn't really made a difference, which is good, is there's no significant differences in savings between education levels. And to date, there haven't been significant savings difference between homeowners and renters. So there's been some other interesting findings. I think we found people are more likely to participate if they are not smokers and are not, an Alcoholics Anonymous or anything like that. There's something around commitment, which we'd never thought about, but we looked at the data. And basically, if you have commitment issues, broadly defined, you are less likely to want to save energy, like many other things. So that's another sort of cool thing that we discovered. So what's next? Some sort of key points for, I guess, discussion or just sort of pondering. Like I mentioned before, how do you integrate more positive feedback while maintaining an authentic experience? You know, people really want to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, but again, you don't want to make them angry or feel like you're making them mad. And then, you know, we know that reward points lead to increased sort of sign up and general engagement, but does other aspects of that in terms of redemption, in terms of how many points they earn, correlate with energy savings? We're still investigating that. And then, you know, what are the relative effects of the various treatments? You know, one thing that we really try to do is, you know, based on all the amazing work that's been done over the years, you know, I think Karen's been obviously a huge leader in the space doing that, is we've tried to integrate as many of these strategies and techniques as we possibly can. The benefit of that, hopefully, is, you know, a great approach to energy efficiency. The downside is we sometimes don't know which parts of it are working and which parts of it are not working. So, you know, we're doing a lot of things. We've got personalized recommendations, goal setting, rewards, feedback, et cetera. And so trying to tease out the relative effects. And frankly, what I think is most interesting is the effects of putting different pieces together and how you're able to do that. So that's what we're working on, at least on the residential side.